When a house is looted and the cops are called, what's the first thing they do? They check the environment. Then they go inside. They conduct a crime scene investigation. And they will gather physical evidence. And they will also interview the victims. Why? The victims are not the suspects over here. However, they may offer crucial information. Because one thing about burglaries is that people don't just see a house and think, man, that house looks so beautiful, man. Or I just can't stop thinking about that house, man. Oh my God, I need to break into that house. No, that's not how it goes. Absolutely not. Break into a house is a dangerous thing to do. First of all, you don't know whether it's a dog over there that is trained to bite strangers. If that's the case, you're going to be in trouble. You may even die. You don't know if the owner is at home. Is the owner or the inhabitants are at home, or residents, well, they may knock you out, or they may even kill you. You don't know if the residents have a gun. If they have a gun, or maybe they're good with knives or swords, then you're in trouble too. And you don't know for sure if there are valuable goods in there, or a lot of cash, worthy to break in. Because when you break into a place, you want to get something valuable. That's why you break in. You break in because you know you wouldn't get this valuable thing otherwise. You know that the individual wouldn't hand to you voluntarily. So to break into a house, you need to know, is it safe for me to break in? So are the residents away? Are there cameras? Is there CCTV footage? And how is their relationship with the neighbors? Because if in the house you want to break into, if the residents are on good terms with their neighbors, then the neighbors might pay attention to the home. But if the residents are not on good terms with people in the neighborhood, then people in the neighborhood may not even care what happened to them. So what I'm telling you is that breaking into a house is a whole operation. Now, criminals who do these things, they may not have degrees from college or university, but they're quite intelligent. And they're quite practical. Now, why am I talking about burglaries? Am I advising you to commit a burglary? No. Listen, a burglar will not just see a house, get excited, and just move into the house. No. They plan it and they work together as a team with others to get the job done. Because once they get all the loot, they need to get away with the loot. Okay, let's say a house has 1 million euros in it. Okay, you break in, you have the 1 million euros, you have in a few bags. If you walk around those bags, people may get suspicious. So it's better to have a car that you can escape with. Where do you put the car? What do you do with the car afterwards? Now, it often happens that when criminals are done using a car, they light it on fire. So the evidence is destroyed. But at least it happens in the Netherlands often. And I'm not going to assume, because I've seen it also happens in other places. But maybe some criminals, they recycle the car to make some money, or they dump the car in a river, whatever method they see fits their situation. Now, imagine following also. A house is looted. Okay? But the house wasn't just looted during the night when everyone was asleep or when the residents were on holiday. Let's say the residents were on a holiday. They went a weekend away, or they were away for a few days, and then it was looted. Okay, such things happen. But what if the house was looted while one of the relatives was staying there? And the police comes to the conclusion, hold on a minute. All the possessions in this house, including the furniture, are missing. There is no way a few burglars can take away all these things within just an hour or two. This operation may at least taken 5 hours to empty this whole house. Or it was done in an hour, a lot of people were involved. And how can this have taken place without this cousin that stays here know anything about it? So now the police can suspect the cousin, rightfully so. Is the cousin involved? We don't know. Let's say now a house was looted. But now, Exactly that day, all the neighbors shut down the CCTV footage. The CCTV footage of all the neighbors around the house was shut down the exact day that the burglary took place. Now, if one neighbor one day doesn't use the CCTV footage, okay, that can happen. Because they may need to reboot their system or they may need to replace the cameras, that can happen. But that everyone who had a view towards that house, it was targeted, stopped the CCTV footage that day. Now the police will figure out quickly that people here are in on it. So, it's the context that matters. And too often, when we deal with circumstances or situations in life, we don't see the context of it. Look, if a house that's located somewhere at the highway is looted, okay, it's a remote house on its own, it's an easy target. But if it's a flat somewhere in London that's been looted, and there's CCTV footage in hundreds of apartments nearby, and the case cannot be solved, then people don't think maybe even the police are on it. Look, what if I tell you that Mark went to the supermarket? You may tell me, okay, Mark went to the supermarket, was that the Euro sheet? But I tell you, Mark went to the supermarket at 2 a.m. in the morning. Now, if you're in the United States, you may say, oh, Rashid, he may have gone to Walmart or the 7-Eleven. But then I tell you, okay, but you went to the supermarket at 2 a.m. in the Netherlands, where supermarkets close at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Then people say, this is a bit weird. Then people may ask, is Mark an employee at the supermarket? Is he a logistics employee that has to be there to help load the freight? Well, he's not. Then people think, okay, but why is he going to a supermarket that's closed at 2 a.m. in the morning? That's suspicious. So when you know the timing and as well as the location, now you can see the context. You will say, hold on a minute. You can go to a supermarket, but why do you go to a supermarket when it's closed? You know it's closed after 8 or 9 p.m. and you're not even involved with the organization. Now you see it's suspicious. Now, in the same way, anytime you are dealing with any suspicious circumstance or suspicious situation, check the context. What's the timing of when it happened and what's the location? And who were involved? Check the context, because the context will reveal to you whether it's an inside job or not. And when it comes down to violent crime in this world, 9 out of 10 times it's an inside job. It's people close to the victim that were in on it, either by just allowing it to happen and not doing anything to prevent it, or they are part of the actual execution of the crime because there's something in for them. Whether it's financial revenue, because they get a cut from the profit, or it is because they can't stand this individual and they wish he was dead or they wish he was gone. So now they get psychological relief from something bad happening to the individual or the individual being dead. When it comes to violent crime, 9 out of 10 times it's an inside job. Now, is every violent crime that happens out there an inside job? I'm not saying that. Random strangers sometimes also victimized. Think about tourists that go on holidays or they go on vacation, and on vacation suddenly they're kidnapped or they're robbed. So strangers can also be targeted. So I'm not saying that every crime, absolutely every crime is an inside job, but most crime are inside jobs. You get me? How do you recognize an inside job? Check the context. If the context reveals that this thing could have been prevented easily, but it wasn't prevented, now, in some cases, it's just incompetence of people around. Now, if people are incompetent because they weren't trained to do something, okay, that's different. Or if someone was a child or in the early teens, that's also different. But when you're dealing with grown folks, and there's a lot of incompetence, at some point, the incompetence becomes collaboration. For example, let's say that You have, let's say, a consultant office, or let's say a law firm. And this law firm later was suspected of being involved in money laundering. And long story short, they figured out that the firm owners were not the ones involved in money laundering. It was the receptionist. Okay, so you arrest a receptionist. But then the police considers the firm owners still suspect in the case. Even though they have an alibi, even the prosecutor and the judge agree with the police that the firm owners must be held liable, not because they're the ones that did the crime, but because the receptionist they hired didn't even finish primary school. The receptionist dropped out of primary school, not even secondary school. So someone who couldn't even master the English language properly, someone who had no clue about anything relating to law, became a receptionist at a law firm. Of course, this individual is going to be incompetent because they're not trained in that field. Imagine you have a hospital and you have a nurse working there who never went through nursing school. Of course, she or he is going to be incompetent. The question is, how come they got the job if they don't fit the job, if they're not qualified for the job? In this case, the law firm knew fully well that they were hiring someone who didn't have any competence in doing the job. And that increased the risk of things going wrong. Now, anyone who was considered, qualified for the job, could have also done something criminal. Okay? It happens a lot. But by giving a job to someone who was even qualified for the job, someone who didn't even finish primary school, either you're in on it or you're very, very out of your mind for allowing this to happen. So in this case, the neglect that the firm owners committed was that he gave a position to someone who was not able to handle it. That doesn't mean that the individual hired has no responsibility, but it's quite easy to trick someone into a crime if they're not that intelligent or if they lack intelligence. So if you give a job to someone who lacks intelligence and the job requires high intelligence to perform, then you as the employer, you're liable when things go wrong, even if you're not the one that were involved in the crime. So that's what I mean. Check the context. Too often we're so obsessed with the content. And conspiracy theorists, they love content. They'll even generate content, theories, or suspicions. Now, I'm not saying all of that is useless, but before you go and obsess yourself over the content of a case, check the context. Context matters, which includes the timing matters as well as the social relations in a situation matters. For example, if I tell you that Madeline met a guy at 12 a.m., okay, you tell me she met a guy. But if I tell you the guy is her husband, you will say, oh, okay, don't worry. If it's her boyfriend, I don't think, okay, maybe they've met. But if I tell you that Madeline is married and she met another man at 12 a.m., somewhere at the train station, you will say, okay, this is a suspect. So the social relations, as well as the timing, they matter. So before you dive into a case or before you make conclusions about a circumstance or situation, check the context. Again, most crime are inside jobs. As an anthropologist and sociologist, I can tell you this. Crime doesn't just happen. Tragedy doesn't just fall out of the sky. 9 out of 10 times, the people around are in on it. It's an inside job. So, recognize the inside job from the start. Recognize that on times you can withdraw yourself from a situation. Maybe it's an inside job against someone else. Maybe it's not even against you. But just don't be around so you can't be incriminated for not doing something. The thing is, when a setup is going on and you're there, your presence incriminates you. So if you notice an inside job is going on, it's not against you. Listen, politely remove yourself from the situation, keep your mouth shut, so people don't figure out you know what they're doing, and get out of there. Once you're out of the situation, now you can alert others to get help. Make sure you get out of the toxic situation or the dangerous circumstance immediately. Don't stick around and be dragged into the harm. Be wise as a serpent and innocent as a dove, as Christ told us to. Was it for now? Keep on agreeing with Christ, be at peace, and I'll see you next time.